Hey everybody, Nate Peo here. You've probably heard you should be networking on LinkedIn if you want to meet new clients. We have no idea where to begin. What I've done is I've created a 5-step guide to help make your profile stand out and helping you get started connecting. When you start building your network, you're going to start attracting more leads. So it's easy. Head on over to my website, natepeo.com, sign up and get my 5 steps of standing out on LinkedIn. I'll show you how to start building your network.
From author Donnie Bovine comes the book, How to Be a Success Champion, available on Amazon. After years of living other people's dreams, author Donnie Bovine decided to jump out on his own and start a business, thinking it would be easy. Instead, he had a rude awakening and quickly understood that he had spent 20 years being an employee and had no idea how to be a business owner. His business was tanking, and he was on the brink of losing everything when he decided to fight for business freedom. In this must-read and life-changing book, author Donnie Bovine shares with readers his story intermingled with lessons learned from his mistakes and his failures. And How to Be a Success Champion, you will find advice the author received from mentors and how he went from zero to a 6-figure business. The author walks you through the steps of how to get out of your own way, how to play the game of business and win, find your strengths, how to network effectively, how to build a personal brand, how to create champions for your business, how to get great at sales, how to take complete ownership of you and your business. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy right now. It makes a great book for corporate events too. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon.
Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with the real Nate Peo. The show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
Hello, and welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Peo. Of course, I am your host, Nate Peo. Today, I'm joined with Joshua Aviv from SparkCharge. Joshua is a certified data scientist and founder and CEO of SparkCharge. His experience in entrepreneurship and startups spans over 6 years, and he is a dynamic figure in the cleantech community. Joshua is also the most recent winner of the world's largest pitch competition, 43 North. He holds a BA in economics and a master's degree in information management and data science from Syracuse University. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be on the show. Looking forward to talking with you today.
Very cool. Certified data. That sounds like a lot of numbers and interesting place to go into, and to go from there. It seems like a lot of people that get focused in data and numbers tend to be risk adverse, but here you are, founder and CEO, and you've been doing it for 6 years. What's kind of been like this driving factor of moving you in a place to become in a startup world, startup economy?
Yeah, so I mean, data science was definitely something that intrigued me. It's something that using numbers to predict or gain information or insight or knowledge into something that, otherwise wasn't there before, right? And so it's taking a different view at the world through numbers, through algorithms. It's definitely, a grueling thing to get into, but I'm super happy to, have that background there. And, Syracuse definitely impacted, not only, my life in that aspect, but also how the company formed. I started the company in my dorm room at Syracuse University, grew it from a college startup to where it is now, where we have, I think, roughly, close to 20 employees. We've launched product here in the United States, getting ready to launch product across the entire country, and then eventually, internationally as well. It's definitely been, rodeo, so to speak, but it's been, one of the most amazing journeys that I've ever been a part of in my life.
Can you? Yeah, it is definitely an amazing journey to be in, into building a business, especially from scratch, from college, and to do it for 6 years and to grow it to having 20 employees. That's a big change from the idea concept to actually executing on it. And most businesses, when they start out, they don't last 5 years. They barely last 2 years, and people give up when the things get tough. So can you talk a little bit about what is SparkCharge and what are you guys working on?
Yeah, so at SparkCharge, we make portable charging stations that allow electric vehicle owners to have their car charged anytime and anywhere they want. Essentially, what we're doing is we're creating a mobile, on-demand infrastructure that essentially is always on, always available, and you never have to, as an EV owner, you never have to worry about where you're going to find range. And with our product, an EV owner can push a button on their phone and have range delivered to them, whether they're sitting outside a Starbucks, so to speak, or a coffee shop on the side of the road. They can be sitting in their house and say, hey, Alexa, bring me 100 miles of range, and it gets brought to them the same way that, a pizza would get delivered to your front door. So we're all about removing the barriers to electric vehicle adoption and electric vehicle ownership. Removing the where, when, how, and why out of charging really increases the amount of electric vehicles on the road. And the more electric vehicles on the road, we now know for a fact creates a better planet, a better earth for all of us.
Yeah. So why did you think that this business made sense, and what made you decide that now is the time to do it? Or I guess at the time you started it, but like, why is this something now that hasn't been done in the past?
Absolutely. So, I started the business, I took a class at Syracuse called environmental economics. And the professor there one day came into class and he said, if you want to change the world, solve the problem of infrastructure for electric vehicles. And I remember meeting with him after class and talking with him and, learning, about the electric vehicle industry and some of the problems that they faced. And what it came down to was, there's going to be this huge, at the time, we were predicting this huge push for electric vehicles, but there wasn't a lot of infrastructure in place. And even now, today, there's been this massive push for electric vehicles with, tons of OEMs coming out with cars, but the problem of infrastructure still looms over the industry. And, I realized that, from working and talking with him and like going out and doing research, and realized that there was a hole in the market that needed to be filled, a problem in the market that needed to be solved. And I believed it could be solved, portable, on-demand energy, whenever you needed it. And so started developing and working with, my co-founders, Chris and Rich, to develop a portable charger that would solve that issue.
That's an interesting approach, because I think when most people think infrastructure, they think, hey, let's just repurpose the gasoline industry for cars. We got the automobile bill came out. They started using filling stations along highways and roads and stuff like that. And over time, they built up infrastructure. And I think a lot of people are going that route with like Tesla superchargers, or they're putting EV charging outside of places you would stop at, like restaurants, fast food. And then there's of course, the charge at home, because that's for convenience. But this is probably the first I've heard of it being portable brought to you. What kind of led you down this path of an, I guess it's probably an innovative solution to the logistics of it, but it probably poses its own challenge of finding a way to bring portable electronics or electric vehicle charging to anybody anywhere on the world at any time. I mean, there's probably stuck on a country road in Nebraska. That would probably be hard to find somebody that can bring that out to you, but here you are trying to solve it.
Yeah, so I think it's really about, there's this growing need for having access to EV charging, anywhere, whether it's on that backcountry road in Nebraska, whether it's downtown on Times Square in New York City. And our goal is that, we really work with these companies, we work with these businesses and our partners to provide that service to those EV owners in that area. And a lot of times what we find is that, those EV owners will actually reach out to us or reach out to their local clubs or organizations and say, hey, here's SparkCharge. Can you guys please provide this service? And then they'll contact us. And so we've really seen, the word of mouth, the growth come from that sort of exposure. And that's really what's propelled the business. Is this is a product that the EV owners themselves are asking for. And we're really just working with them to make sure they get it and that there's a partner that is willing to provide it.
Yeah. So you talk a bit about word of mouth advertising. I think that's a big key for people to use. Your network. I always say your network is your net worth, and word of mouth is essentially network of people speaking highly of you and your product, and telling their friends about it and referring them to you. How has networking affected SparkCharge? Maybe from two aspects, like how has it impacted you as a CEO and founder, and how has it brought customers in and helped grow the business?
Yeah, so I mean, networking is crucial. As the old saying goes, it's all about who you know. When it comes to how it's impacted me, the first couple of hires that we made here at SparkCharge were all through word of mouth and good introductions, and that's really the foundation of the business, right? And then when people, as we grew the company, from a team standpoint, people would ask around and do research on us, and we always had a good standing in the community, a good standing across our network, a good standing in the industry, and that really matters. And so, your network really matters. And then when you think about, how your network matters, especially when you're starting the business, me starting the business in college, the network was all I had. I mean, essentially, one of the biggest benefits, I think that goes unrecognized when kids go to college is, you're going there to get a degree, but more importantly, right, like it's that network that's being made available to you, right? So who's on your campus? Who's your alumni? Who can you reach out to for knowledge? Who can you reach out to for guidance? Who can you reach out to be a mentor? That's really the meat, if you will, around the bone, around what you actually get out of a college education. For me, it was joining up with Blackstone Launchpad and joining into their network and getting looped in with Techstars, and then basically being able to pitch and convey the idea at the college level, and then get invited to we won the New York State Business Plan competition, right? And from that competition, we went out and we got invited to the Rev conference because people heard how well we did at one pitch competition. From the Rev conference, we actually got introduced to our first venture capitalist. And then from there, the company really took off. We got into Techstars. We worked with John Hill. We worked with Linda Hartsock. And, we started our network, our brand, people knowing who we are, even at the college level, grew. But those were crucial moments in making sure that we actually built that network and that, our reputation was good.
Yeah, I love that you're talking about building that at such a young stage in your career path. And when I was in college, I was thinking about, hey, it's a good time. I'm having having fun with friends, but I'm also studying and getting an education and learning so I can go off and get a job and do something. I didn't put the effort in really connecting with my professors on an intimate level, connecting with counselors, connecting with people that are in groups and organizations. I kind of stayed away from that. And I think that was like a detriment, because if I would have put that effort in back in my early 20s, I would have been a lot further with my network than I had. And I didn't really realize the power of building your relationships and networks until probably later in my mid 30s. And once I did, you start realizing, I'm like, hey, this is really powerful, but it takes a lot of time to build. And we had this professor when I was in grad school, and he called it your Rolodex power. And he was like, when you're in college, you have access to people you're not going to get access to when you graduate. And the reason is, if you're a student, you can call up a CEO or a big high-level executive at some companies that you want to talk to, whether or not you're in their industry or not, and say, hey, I just want to pick your brain for a class project I'm working on, and get your takes. You can get a conversation with these people, get to know them, and then develop a relationship going forward. Once you're in the business industry, like if you're calling on those people, they're going to screen you out. They're going to think you're trying to sell something. You're not going to have access to these people that you do. And what you identified was like, hey, you were out there early before you even did anything, kind of building these relationships. And then when you started your business, you started getting a lot of word of mouth, but you already kind of set the foundation and the groundwork for having a lot of good referrals, good advocates, good mentors within your circle of influence to kind of help you along the way. So that was a really smart move on your part, for sure.
Yeah, and it's something that I think really goes unnoticed and unrecognized. I mean, the people. I was giving a talk to a group, EV Hybrid Newer, which is a group of minority electric vehicle owners, and they were asking, what are some of the, inflection points? What are some of those, like, where the road splits and you make decisions? And it really comes down to the people that were like in your life at that moment, right? So, Linda Hartsock, Blackstone Launchpad, was, that pivotal role, and played a pivotal role in the early development of, the ideation stage, going over pitch decks, going over business plans, pitching, getting into, a lot of these competitions to get the word out and grow our network. And then John Hill stepping in, and getting us introduced to the Techstars network, right? And then growing it from there. I mean, you have people in your life along the way that really play an impactful role, in making sure that, not only your network continues to grow, but that you become a success as well. And I think, a lot of times that goes unnoticed, it goes unrecognized. But, when we look back at how we got to where we are now, there are people who played a pivotal role: Linda Hartsock, John Hill, Mike Cunningham, Zadashai. There was a foundation there.
For sure. Okay, so I want to ask you a question that's a little bit different than what we've been talking about, and that is your why. People talk about having a why in your business, that you're solving a problem that is, it's basically what's going to drive the company forward, set the path, set the pace, what you're working on. But what is your personal why? What is it that gets you up every day, lights a fire to accomplish more and chase this path of building a business? One, in an industry that's it's emerging, clean tech. Two, it's not as high flashy, high glamorous as Silicon Valley's apps and tech world, but it's still very important, by the way. So what is your why that says, hey, I'm going to get up and do this every single day?
No, I think clean tech is actually much more glamorous than, the Silicon Valley typical SaaS-based software startup, right? I mean, clean tech has an impact on your life immediately, and it has an impact on your life over a greater period of time as well, right? When you think about like, what's my why, I think I realized this very early on. It's like actually my why is having an impact in my community. And for me, I believe that clean tech has a huge impact in our community. I believe that, the more electric vehicles we put on the road, the better our communities become. I believe that, me being a minority in clean tech also sets a statement and sets a bar very high for other minority entrepreneurs to come behind me. I'm also very connected, like, with my employees, man. Like, when I get up in the morning and I come to work, I'm working for them, right? Like, I want to make sure that they're okay. I want to make sure that, not only is our community set aside, but the people that we hire inside of those communities are okay as well. I was giving a talk a couple weeks ago, and it was about, what is the impact that a startup has on a community? And, when you think about it, you hire one person inside of a community, that person, he goes out, he pays his rent, he goes to the grocery store, he goes to the movies. He's putting money back into that community. You multiply that by 100, you multiply that by 1,000, you're really impacting, you're really changing the community in which your startup operates. And for me, that's a huge part of my why, right? Impacting the community on a green scale with clean air, clean technology, making the world a better place, but also impacting the community through the lives that we touch to our employees. That's what gets me up in the morning and gets me going. And I think that a lot of times, people look at the job of a CEO as just someone who, wakes up every day and maybe answers emails. I love the joke, it's the chief email officer. But, every conversation being had, every phone call being had, every email being had is moving the company towards a goal, moving the company closer to its mission and vision of change. And I think that's the role of, a CEO. And I think that that's what really gets me up in the morning is I know that every day when I come into the office, when I'm working with my team, we are making change. We are making positive change. And I think that's what drives myself and all of us.
Yeah, I love how you defended my comment about clean tech not being glamorous. So that right there identifies that you do have a passion for that industry. You have a passion for your business and your employees. That's more important than just like, hey, I'm just trying to do my own thing. But it's really impacting everybody that's within the company as well. But the one thing you touched on that I wanted to add to was the impact it has on a community. And I don't think a lot of communities realize how important it is to have a startup ecosystem within their community, because If people are building businesses and they need investment to happen and they can't get the investment to happen within the community, they're going to leave the community to go find it, right? They're going to go like let's just use it for example. And if you're in my area and you're in Inland Empire, Riverside County, and there's not any investors, there's not anybody supporting from the local governments, the local education platforms, or the people within the community to support startups, and those good companies are going to leave. They're going to go to LA, they're going to go to Silicon Valley, and they're going to look for the investment there. And the same thing too, if the companies aren't being supported in the community, the investors aren't going to come and support those companies and grow those businesses. And so the investors are going to leave as well. So it's so super important to kind of develop some sort of ecosystem that supports people building things from scratch, not just like building small businesses, but building businesses that are able to scale to startup. Because what if you were able to create a business that hired like 20 people, 30 people, or 200 people? That would have a huge impact on the community. The amount of taxes they pay into the government, the amount of support they're doing to the like support economies, the hairstylists, the restaurants, the housing, and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, you have people that are more happy with their lifestyle because they're living in their community, they're working within their community, they're not driving millions of miles away to go work in some big city that they don't have a connection to, or they're leaving their community behind. So I think that is a super critical point and a role of the CEO of startup companies to also engage the communities that they're in and try to garner that support for other businesses. Because I think if more businesses are successful within a community, it attracts more and all the ships rise with the tide. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, right? And you talk about like an ecosystem, right? And I mean, you think about, something that, goes unrecognized too, right? Like that ecosystem to thrive, right? You need people to take risks. You need people to go out and start these businesses. And, if there's not a community there to support them, then, that doesn't happen, right? And so, over the past couple of months, we've seen communities, that are startups that no longer, need to stay inside that Silicon Valley bubble, and they're kind of venturing out. There's now communities, in DC, there's communities here outside of Boston. There's like a large startup community starting to take place down in Texas. There are these, big communities taking place outside of your typical cities. And I think that really goes to show that people are realizing that, entrepreneurship in these cities is a big deal, right? And that you can change a city, you can impact the city, you can impact the community through entrepreneurship in ways that really have never been thought of before. When you overlay that with, a lot of companies now taking initiatives to be more diverse, a lot of companies now taking more initiatives to bring in people that typically wouldn't have access to those jobs prior. Now, not only are you changing a community, but you're also changing the way that wealth is distributed in that community and how people get access to that wealth, but also how people get access to that knowledge too. And I think that's like a huge part of it. So, I mean, it all creates, better communities. But yeah, I agree with your point there.
Yeah, for sure. Like the way the world's changed a little bit too, there's the world became a lot smaller with the access to Zoom. We don't all have to be congregated in these same places to work and connect with other people and share knowledge. So awesome answer. Let me ask you, what does it mean to you to be all in on an idea or an outcome?
Yeah, I think to be all in, what it really means is that, you're committed not only mentally, but also physically with your time. I think it means that you're being creative. I think it means that you're thinking outside the box. But I think what it means, all of that put together, I think what all in means is that you, your team, your mentors, your advisors, everybody's moving towards the same goal. Everybody moves towards the same goal. Everybody understands the mission and vision. Everybody understands how that mission and vision is going to impact people in a positive way. And everybody is focusing on that specific goal. I think that's what it means to be all in. But I also think, when you think about all in, and we've just touched on this, I also think it means being all in on the community in which you impact and the community in which you're trying to change as well. right? Like standing up for clean tech, right? Like, making sure that people know that, the solutions or the problems that you're trying to solve are out there, right? And making sure that the awareness around it is there too. So I think, all those things comprised together really describe being all in.
Yeah, fantastic. It is important to give it your all, and it's more than just the business you're working on, but the community that you're involved in. So, who are you trying to get connected with? Can you talk to me about who that person or people or organization looks like in detail?
Yeah. So, I mean, at SparkCharge, our whole goal is, working with as many partners or businesses that want to have impact, in the EV community, want to service electric vehicle owners. So, for us, it's working with, OEMs, roadside companies, small, medium-sized businesses, utilities, you name it. Any company that really wants to begin accessing the electric vehicle community, any company that wants to, work around actually removing a lot of these barriers to electric vehicle adoption, that's who we want to talk to. That's who we want to be partnered with.
Awesome stuff. So if somebody wants to get connected to you, where should they go to find you?
Absolutely. They can reach out. We have multiple platforms, our website. You can fill out the form. We'll get in touch with you that same day. You can also connect with us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We're readily available. We always love working with people, talking with people. We're always open.
Awesome stuff, man. I'll put all that in the show notes so that everybody can connect to you. Reach out to Joshua, say hi, tell him how you found him, let him know your thoughts on, is clean tech really the hot spot in the future? I think it is. I think it's going to be a really exciting industry to be in the next few years. But just, touch base with him, see what he's doing, and learn from watching his example of leading a company and making change within his community. Awesome chat with you, man. Thank you so much.
No problem, dude. I love to talk. You asked some great questions. Hopefully stay in touch and, take care, stay safe.
Awesome.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if simply tell 2 friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram.